My name is James, WW7N, and it's time for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Before we begin, would anyone like to use the repeater for a quick contact? We'll be using this repeater for about the next hour. If so, come now. Well, as I said, my name is James, WW7N. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. We're a group of amateur radio operators who, on 8 p.m. Wednesday Pacific Time and 8 p.m. Saturday evening Pacific Time, we take to the airways with fast scan analog television. We have a transmitter site up on Cougar Mountain, and around 1.2 gigahertz is where you'll see that video signal. It's a classic NTSC signal. So anyway, tonight I can see we have Ron, KD7QKU. We have Bob, I'm sorry, Bob. And let's see, we've got Richard, K7ITX. And we've got Wade, W7ITL. And we've also got Lee up in Port Angeles, N7KC. So who else would like to join tonight? Jim, are you out there?
Affirmative, N7QO.
Looks like we've got a good turnout with 7 people tonight. Just for anyone listening right now, we welcome any visitors. You can either check in or check out if you just want to see if that new antenna works on the 2-meter audio here, or if you want to learn more about amateur television, we'd be happy to introduce you to it, or if you want to join our conversation. Well, any of the 3 options, just let me know which one it is you'd like to do. Let's start at the top. Ron, KD7QKU. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, James. W7N, KD7QKU here. I was just telling Bob before we got started that we just had a steak for dinner, and I had a little bit of wine, and I just got the recliner out on the patio and a pillow and turned the baseball game on, and Joanne says, "Don't forget the net." So I had to pull myself away. Well, Lee probably knows this, but has some kind of good news and bad news. So Dave has COVID. So he called me, and he'd been pretty sick, I guess. I think if I remember correctly, he'd gone to the doctor. He just paid I think he said $250 and went to the doctor and was tested, and he definitely got it. And but because he had a booster not too long ago, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago, the doctor didn't want to give him the medication or something, so he didn't think he was going to die, and so he was getting better when I talked to him. Sounded terrible, but he was getting better. So anyway, I asked him if anybody else had got it. Yeah, somebody else where his dad got it too. So he doesn't know. He said he wore his mask all the time when he was on the plane, only taking it off to eat or something. But gee, I think, the incubation period's about a week, so I almost think he probably got it before he left, but who knows. So I guess I do have some more to talk about, but I guess I will pass it on back to W7N, KD7QKU.
This is WU7N. Thank you very much for that report. Prayers with Dave. Glad to hear he's getting better. Next, first of all, let's pause. Any visitors like to join us now that you kind of see how it goes? Visitors heard. Let's go to Bob up there in the north end, K9PQ.
Well, good evening, everybody. Yeah, real sorry to hear that about Dave, but I'm glad to hear he's on the mend. My goodness, it's definitely not gone. I mean, I still have been hearing of other people getting it recently, and it is still out there. I did not wear a mask when I flew to Alaska and back, and I guess I was lucky. You know, I thought about wearing it, but I didn't, and honestly, I was wearing a mask right up till then because I didn't want to get COVID and miss that fishing trip. So I figured once I was on the plane, you know, I was committed, and I wasn't worried too much about getting COVID at that point. But that's tough. So yeah, I had a nice experience over the weekend. A friend of mine and I went to a nearby park, and I tried out this app called Merlin, and it's been around for quite a while. It's from Cornell University, and it's got all kinds of information about birds. It's a huge database, and it's got, for a long time, it's had, you know, pictures and sounds you could listen to, so you could sort of train yourself to identify a bird. But they have now come up with something that you just turn on the microphone, and it starts listening, and it will identify birds in real time, and it does a fantastic job. And because I have no real talent and certainly no intent to memorize bird calls, I'm really happy for that. It's a fun new toy, and I expect to be playing with it a lot in the near future. Okay, I'll send it back. K9PQ.
K9PQ, this is WW7N. Sounds interesting. Richard, K7ITX. Microphone is yours.
Okay, well, I hope everyone can hear me okay. Thumbs up. Okay, good. Well, Bob, I hate to burst your bubble, but when you were on your fishing trip, Bert turned us on to Merlin, and as a group, we've already been using it quite a bit. but it is really cool, and I'm glad you brought it up. I picked up a woodpecker just last night, so that was pretty cool. You know, juncos and you know, on down the list. I mean, there's just so many of them. I've picked up a dozen of them where I know I could go a little bit deeper into the woods and do a lot better. But yeah, no, it's a great toy. It's unbelievable, actually. I mean, because there's, you know, well, like the woodpecker, for example. God, you know, I mean, there's a lot of birds that kind of sound like woodpeckers, and but this was the real. In fact, it looked like Woody the woodpecker, actually, in the little picture. So I was, you know, redhead, the whole 9 yards. So can't remember the exact name. I mean, if I opened up the app and fired it up, I'd be able to share the name with you. But so I got a story too, of course. Why wouldn't I? Mine is, well, number one, I'm really sad to hear about Dave. I mean, holy moly. In fact, maybe, well, the clairvoyant aspect of getting I got my booster 2 days ago. Or no, that's right, I got it Monday. Because we talked, James wished me and Ron, you know, good tidings, and hoping that we wouldn't get COVID. And I thought, well, you know, there is another booster out there that it's called it's the second bivalent, if I'm saying that correctly. You know, I got the first in the fall, and now the second one is available. And I mean, heck, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be my 6th COVID shot, and I feel pretty good about it. Actually, I mean, I can't do any better other than just stay away from people that are sick, and I'm doing pretty good about that. I'm always in a big room, never very close to people. So anyway, that's only part of my story. I can't tell you the whole story because maybe I'll finish to give you more details in this round. But I just came from Tacoma General Hospital. Unexpectedly, our 1969 Datsun 510 owner got in trouble, and so that's where he is right now. He's probably, maybe he's getting an MRI right now, and I think they've got plans to put a stent in his. I guess he was just a couple hours away from a stroke, so they got him there just in time, to say the least. So anyway, I guess I'm going to have more responsibility than I'm used to. K7ITX back to net control.
TX, Richard K7ITX, this is James W7N. Sorry to hear about that. Let's move on. Wade, W7ITL, go ahead.
W7ITL here in Tacoma. Maybe somebody can switch me in on RF to see if I can get a picture up there. So yeah, with Field Day, I also participated, maybe not as aggressively as I wanted to. I actually got a late start on Saturday because I didn't know if I was going to go up or not. So I got there around noon. I went up to Fort Flagler and did that with the K7 LED group, and I did the GOTA station, just kind of like helping out with logging, and I did a couple QSOs on 40 meters. So yeah, just quick in and outs with folks, just doing contesting. Let's see, today took my daughter out. We had some Vietnamese pho. And what else? Pretty nice weather here in Tacoma. I'm sorry to hear about Dave and also Richard, your friend. Hopefully both of them are doing okay now. I don't really have a lot more to say. Maybe I'll have something more for the next round. W7ITL back to net.
W7ITL, that was a good picture. Good color signal, good stable signal here in Bellevue, Washington. The signal coming off the hill tonight is absolutely a number 5 on a scale of 1 to 5. So let's move on next to Lee, N7KC up in Port Angeles. And Lee, I'm assuming you can hear us on Echo Link and that everyone's using the 103.5 tone tonight, which is not the normal tone for the 08 machine. Okay, go ahead, Lee.
Okay, there we go. Okay, got the thumbs up. This is N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Well, Bob, yes, Bert clued us all into Merlin, but the problem is my Samsung A20 phone doesn't seem to have the horsepower to run it. So anyway, I can't download it because the phone seems to know that it isn't going to work on it and won't even let me bring it in. But so I'm disappointed about that, of course. But I can say that Cornell, that Department of Ornithology back there, is outrageous. They've got Eagle webcams and bird webcams, just amazing, just simply amazing what they do, you know. So anyway, I'm really sorry I can't use that. Let's see, Field Day. Oh my goodness, we had a good move here. The local club, the CCARC, that's Clallam County, does their field day at the fairgrounds. And the fairgrounds and the airport abut one another. And it's only it's not a mile from me, maybe a half a mile. And so it's real close. And so I spent the weekend over there. They had two 7300s set up. They had a tri-band beam, 10, 15, and 20, and a rotatable 40-meter dipole. And it was all on the same mast. A pneumatic mast on the back of an RV. One of the guys out here near Freshwater Bay has got 400-foot towers and a lot of equipment and stuff, and he brought all that to Field Day. Well, and we ran off of his battery. He has 800 ampere hours of battery and big solar panels on the top of his RV and all that sort of thing. So we ran the whole 24 hours on battery or solar for a while to work on the batteries. Anyway, it was amazing. But the best thing about, well, not the best thing, but so I ran one of the CW station. I guess I was the only one. Maybe one other fellow did one or two CW contacts, but I did all the CW, and then the other 7,300 was voice. I don't even know what our score was. I pooped out at midnight. The wind came up, and I basically froze out. I had to go home. I was so cold. Okay, next time around, I'll tell you about the food service that we had at Field Day. Never in my life have I seen anything like this. It was quite something. N7KC, Leopold Answers. Back to you, James.
Connected, W7ITL.
Lee via Echolink. Okay, and I also just heard W7ITL connect on Echolink as well. Well, I certainly want to hear about the food service. After that teaser, we're going to have to go around quick here because I want to hear about that one. Jim, N7QO out in Covington. You're up next. Go ahead.
N7QO, thank you, Jim. Good evening, everyone. Ron, wow, recliner, baseball. If you're lucky, you slept through the end of the game and missed the fact that the Mariners lost. Oh well. Thanks for mentioning about Dave. Really sorry that he got COVID. It's definitely not gone. Hope he at least has a mild case of it. Sounds like he's on a mend anyway. Bob, yeah, other people mentioned about that Merlin app. Thanks for mentioning that. That sounds like it's really cool. I did not download it myself. Question about the background, though. Now I see, like, I can't tell if it's supposed to be yellow or if it's supposed to be multicolor with the picture that I've got here. But it changes color when your display is up and you have it as a background. It mostly switches to red. So just curious what that is that I'm looking at. It looks like sort of a multi-pronged starburst. I can't tell what that thing is in the upper right end of it, but if you would enlighten us next time around, please, I would appreciate that. I just don't have the resolution here that I used to. Dick, yeah, sorry about your friend. Hopefully he'll be just fine and ready to roll again tomorrow. I know a lot of, I have several friends who have had stents put in, and they were good as new after just a couple of days. Woodpecker, huh? You know, I used to have a woodpecker who came around here all the time. This year, he has not yet materialized. I hate to say it, but the guy probably maybe died of old age. I don't know. There is another woodpecker that showed up here one time and started hammering on the house, but I managed to chase him away and he never returned. But I wonder what happened to my old friend there. Wade, field day, Fort Flagler. Lee, field day at the fairgrounds. Sounds like both of you had fun. Lee, at least until it got cold. And yeah, I have to echo what Bellevue Jim said. I'm looking forward to hearing about the food as well. Back to you, Jim, N7QO.
Our Morse code lesson. Okay, so this is James, WW7N. Thank you very much, Jim, out there in Covington, N7QO. Well, let me pause for a minute. Now you hear what's going on. Would any visitors like to check in, check out, join the conversation, or learn more about TV? If so, come now. No stations heard tonight. We're always welcome and open to visitors. Well, you know, I've had a pretty tough, trying day. It was almost practically like working for a living, and I am exhausted. But anyway, my good news is my friend who came down with COVID last Thursday, I was with him all day Thursday, and he actually texted me, I think it was Saturday morning, to say that he had had symptoms on Friday. And he was quite sick, but just hung in there with the, treated it like regular influenza, although he did test positive on 2 different types of tests for COVID-19. And I talked with him today. I knew he was back. He sends me emails all the time, interesting links, and I saw one today, so I called him up, and he still sounded awful, but said he was feeling much better. Now, unfortunately, his wife has it, so hopefully she'll get over it quickly as well. And yes, I've the Cornell Merlin program. I would want it because we've got owls hanging around out in my back green belt, and they're always just really cool to listen to in the middle of the night. But I don't know what kind of owls they are. A few years back, a really huge barn owl would perch on my railing and wait for critters to run from the green belt to try and make it into the building across what I called the diner zone. And was totally didn't care about me at all. My neighbor actually took a flash picture, and it just seemed slightly ruffled, didn't fly away, and just just kept staring down at the zone. I'm always worried about people who hire these darned exterminators because they poison the animals, and then I'm always worried that the owls are going to eat the poisoned animals and not do well. I haven't seen that big owl in a long time. So I try to tell my neighbors, would you please not use poison, use traps. They're much better. Plus, they don't get in your walls and die, and you wonder what elephant defecated in your house. So that's always a plus of using traps. Story, I was a nice guy and let a bird nest right around the corner from my front door. And unbeknownst to me, I think the offspring opened a convention center right above my door, which caused problems. I kept cleaning it off, and they seemed to be smart enough. I think they could hear me coming to the door, because every time I'd open the door and look, they wouldn't be there, but it was obvious they had been there. So what I finally did, I got a big plastic owl with giant green eyes, big giant glass eyes, and set it out by my front door. And this time when I cleaned everything up, they didn't come back. So hopefully they're happier somewhere else, and the convention center is moving onward. WW7N, net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Let's wrap it around to the top. Ron, KD7QKU, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. KD7QKU here. Yeah, it's amazing when birds start to build a nest, and you don't get rid of it because you don't want them there. They don't give up. They just keep coming back and coming back. It's kind of sad in a way, but eventually they do give up. Well, Richard, I was really sorry to hear about your friend, but I think I kind of agree. If he's okay and they get the stent in, he'll be fine, and he'll be good in a few days. Probably only keep him in the hospital a short time. It's amazing what they do now. So let's see. We had talked about that Merlin app. I didn't download it, but it sounds interesting. I have so much stuff on my phone. I didn't even know if I had room. But anyway, I guess I was going to talk about my son Mike. My son Mike, has this beautiful big motorcycle. It's a BMW. It's full dress. It's I don't know what year it is. He bought it used. It had 27,000 miles on it, and it's got a computer in it. Everything on it's electric. You can adjust the windshield. It's got fairing on the side of the windshield. You can adjust that, electric when you're riding. Like I say, it's got a computer, and it'll tell you how many miles a gallon. It may have seat warmers, handlebar warmers. I don't know. It's got all kind of boxes on it, and seats and everything. And then he has a coat that he can plug into it that warms up. It's an electric coat. So anyway, so he taken off on this big ride. He rode up to Whitefish, Montana to go to a funeral. And then he rode over to Spearfish, I think it was, South Dakota. Well, of course, he stopped a couple times on the way over there, but he was in thunderstorms and hail, rain and wind. It was a terrible ride. So he gets over to the Spearfish with his friend, and he stayed over there 3 or 4 days. And he didn't want to leave because the weather was so bad. Finally, on Sunday, he said he had a window and he was going to go south. Well, he went south already. He went clear down into Brigham, Utah, and then he came back up 84. And when I talked to him when he got to Brigham, Utah, I thought he was worn out. He had been staying in a little camp. He'd taken a tent with him, planned on camping out, but he had stayed at little cabins in KOAs, and he was much more comfortable doing that, he said. So anyway, the other day he headed from Brigham yesterday, I guess. So I looked. I can track him on my phone. So I looked at 7 o'clock. Well, he was already on the road. And had gone quite a ways. Let me let it drop. It's really rolling right along, and then when he finally got up to around Hermiston or Pendleton, I thought he'd been on the road then a long time. I thought for sure he was going to stop, but he didn't stop. And then he crossed the Columbia River and then got on that highway and headed up to Yakima. And I thought, okay, for sure when he gets in Yakima, he's going to stay for the night. And so he ate, I guess, and gassed up. And next time I looked, he was on Highway 410. And I thought, oh my goodness sakes, I mean, he'd been riding now, like 12 hours, at least 10 hours. And he was, and so he got on 410, and there's a really nice Natchez campground, and I told John, well, surely he's going to stop at Natchez campground. Nope, didn't stop at Natchez campground. He just, next time I looked, he's in the Enumclaw. Next time I looked, he was on I-5. Next time I looked, he was at home. So he drove over 900 miles, and I'm sure, and he must have rode for at least 14 hours. And so he called me this morning. He said, I knew you would either be calling me, so I figured I might as well call you. Let me let it drop again. But you rode almost 1,000 miles. I was saying you must have rode 14 hours. Oh man, he said, did I ever? He said, I just headed that old BMW north and put it in cruise control. I set it on 80. He said, I never had it off 80. He said, sometimes I saw 100 when I passed. And he said, I said, man, I just kept thinking you were going to stop and stop and stop. And he said, no, he didn't. He said, oh man, when I got home, thank God that Stephanie had the gate open and the garage door open. Because he said, if I'd have stopped and locked the gate, he said, I don't know if I could have got back on the motorcycle. So anyway, he said that he made it all the way through. Somebody's calling me on my cell phone. Let me let it drop for a second. It'll stop ringing in a minute. In my hearing aids in my ears. You guys can't hear it, but I can. Good. There it goes. Finally stopped. So anyway, so he called me this morning and he was telling me, oh man, he went through rain and hail and wind yesterday and everything else. He said it was another bad ride, really. And then he said it was like 94 when he was in Yakima. And he said he was so close to home then, that he just, adrenaline kicked in and he just went for it. So he said when he rode into the garage, the motorcycle wasn't sounding good. And he said, I think the lower end's out of it. And I said, well, what do you mean by the lower end? And he said, well, the crankshaft or the rod bearings or something. I said, well, it doesn't have very many miles on it. I said, they're supposed to run like 200,000 miles. You're supposed to be able to cruise them all over the world. He said, yeah, I know, but he said, maybe I ran it too hard. And he said, I put new oil in it. I checked the oil every time, and it was fine, but he said, it's not running good. He said, I'm just going to wheel it in the corner and put the cover over it. I'm never going to ride it again. I said, you're never going to ride it again? He said, yep, I'm done. I got it out of my system. He had 2 rides. One, he rode his other motorcycle. It's a Kawasaki 1800 or 1600. And he was so sick when he got down in Riverside, California, that he left it there and flew home. And he didn't go back to get it for 2 years. Now he rode this BMW. And he said, I bought that BMW thinking I could ride it to Florida, and just go all over with it. But he said, after this trip, I'm never going to go on another motorcycle trip. He said, I'm done. I said, well, just buy a nice little SUV, put your camping stuff in back, and then you can, you have windshield wipers and air conditioner and computer and all the comforts of home. He said, yep, that sounds really good to me. So I don't know. I guess he was beat to death, but I sure hope the motorcycle isn't ruined. He said I ran it awful hard, and maybe he did, but I still think it should have been just fine, but who knows? I told him, I think maybe the valves are out of adjustment or something. That, you know, if it is, you know, I don't know. He said it was getting a little bit hard to start too. When he got gas the last couple of times, so I don't know. He was just tired, maybe he'll look at it. Okay, back to net, KD7QKU.
Ron, I'm glad your friend got his motor running, as Steppenwolf would say. Okay, Bob, K9PQ, you're up next.
Okay, well, first thing, Jim, the background, they are two different backgrounds. And I was just going through some old photos I had, and this was one from a 4th of July celebration. These are fireworks. So there are a couple of different pictures of fireworks. That's why they look like this one is sort of a single starburst. I'll get out of the way so you can see it. And then the other one that I'm using as the still has a couple of them going off together. So that's why you saw two different starbursts there. Let's see, some notes. Yeah, Lee, looking forward to hearing about the food. We built this up so much, it better be good. Yeah, Ron, yeah, somebody should tell Mike he's not 20 years old anymore. I don't know how old he is, but I know it's more than that. Oh, there we go, okay. Apparently it sounds like 52, 62, he's getting up there. Okay. Well, let's see, what else? I had one other thing. Oh, the owls. Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, James, because I used to hear owls pretty frequently around here at night. I haven't for a while, but you know, I don't know if I'll ever actually record them. It would be fun to see what kind of owl it said it was. A friend of mine who was, you know, got his degree in biology and knows computers quite well. He said, you know, yeah, it's nice, but I wouldn't completely trust it. You know, when it tells you, oh, it's exactly this, you know, species, this from this region and this species and this color, and you know, he said, yeah, maybe I wouldn't trust it quite that much. And when I say color, I mean sort of different. I guess they're different species. Yeah. Different varieties maybe within the species, I'm not sure. So I don't know. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I don't rely on it. You know, I'm not going to have my whatever they call that, your lifetime book or something like that, you record all the birds you've seen in your lifetime. I'm not ever going to do anything like that, but it's fun. That's about it here. I thought I had something else. Oh, I'm glad you guys enjoyed Field Day. Yeah, I just had a conflict this year and didn't get out there, but I'm glad you did. And Richard, yeah, all the best to the Dotson owner. I mean, I think maybe it was Jim, I forget who said it, you know, about getting the stint and getting better very quickly afterward. I've heard that same thing from other people as well, and so I hope the best. Okay, back to net, K9PQ.
PQ, Bob, up there at the north end. This is James WW7N, net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Next on our list is Wade, it's Richard, K7ITX. Richard, K7ITX. You can take it away.
Okay, so probably a nice sampling of the birds that I've captured. Pileated, P-I-L-E-A-T-E-D, so pileated woodpecker, and that's the one with the red head, back-capped chickadee, red-breasted nuthatch, chestnut-backed chickadee, song sparrow, dark-eyed junco, oh, and one more? What's the one more? Oh, American crow. So anyway, so it's really fun. Oh, I just love it. It's really cool, Bob. So I'm just, you know, you're right. And the owl, we got owls here too. I'm gonna have to drag it out for that as well. So, yeah, God, as far as the owner of the Datsun 510 goes, yeah, it's just gonna be up to me and his son tomorrow getting set up. his son, of course, is the driver, and the last I had heard, the car was still at the body shop. So he's got to pick that up tomorrow and then get everything packed, and I expect it'll be probably about this time tomorrow that he'll be getting set up at the track, just basically in Covington, where it's at. So hopefully, Duff is the name of the owner. Hopefully, Duff will be able to recover. It was more than just this potential stroke. He let some blood sugar business get way out of control, and so it's none of my business. I didn't believe or anything, other than his son told me that his dad yesterday when he was sick was just ridiculous about not getting any attention. And then this morning at 4:30 when they're, I guess, getting ready to go to work or whatever, his legs, he just got paralyzed. His legs went total paralysis, and so his kid drove him to Good Samaritan in Puyallup. Puyallup said, "Oh, this is beyond our control," and they shipped him over to Tacoma General. So I don't know. All I know is I've got a busy schedule, and maybe Debbie's going to help me as far as the Saturday barbecue goes. We'll just have to play it because this is a big event. They call it the Northwest Historics. Besides that, I had a really great day, actually. I've been doing this pulmonary rehab at Auburn Regional Hospital, and I've been doing it now for about 6 weeks, twice a week. And so today was, it's called the 6-minute walk. And I've done quite a few 6-minute walks, not quite a few, I've done 4 or 5. And the last one I did to kick off my pulmonary rehab in Auburn, I covered in 6 minutes, keeping my blood saturation in the 90s. I covered, trying to remember, it was like about roughly 1,000 feet. Well, today I covered 1,210 feet, and then the hospitals at the hospital hallways at Tacoma General. My God, they're like miles long, and I don't know. There's something about my problem with breathing and walking and all that. There's something about the smooth linoleum hallway that just is easier on my system. I mean, for obvious reasons. There's no stairs. It's not. There's no inclines or anything. But so I did that really good. But then, since I did so well, they took me over to a machine that I never really paid too much close attention to. I did the treadmill and this other thing that it's kind of like listening on a bicycle, and then you move your arms. That's pretty easy. I mean, you can make it hard. But this was called they call it AMT machine, Adaptive Motion Trainer. Holy moly. I mean, no problem being on any of these other things for a half hour at a time. This thing, I was dead in 2 minutes. Literally. I've never, ever, it looks like a Stairmaster, but it's not. It's very deceiving. Very, very deceiving. It takes just the strength that you have to push down on. It's so hard to get the pedals going. And, because it looked like a Stairmaster, but my knees were aching, but in just 2 minutes. I guess that's the new torturous thing. Since I've graduated now, I'm doing so good. There's always one more thing that they can throw at you that you're not ready for, and I am not ready for this. This is going to take me to the bitter end of my training in mid-September. So anyway, so that's all I know, you guys. I think that's long enough. K7ITX.
K7ITX. This is WU7N at control. Next on the list is Wade, W7ITL. Go ahead, Wade. I'll switch you in.
ITL here. I'm just going to be listening for this round. Thanks for doing the net. All right, I want to turn it back to net. W7ITL.
W7ITL, understand. This is WU7N. One more call for visitors. Anybody who'd like to check in, check out, join the conversation, or learn more about TV? Go ahead, come now. Next on the list is Lee, N7KC, coming in on Echo Link from Port Angeles. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Well. First off, Richard, it's pileated. Pileated is the type of woodpecker. Pileated. Okay, the food service ads field day. Turns out the president of our club this year, Sheldon, N7XTI, is a certified barbecue pitmaster and contest judge. And he has a big trailer full of gas cookers and charcoal cookers and all that stuff. He's got the entire 9 yards of equipment, and he, for the last several years actually, he's been doing it for 12 years now, he sets up a field day, and he's got canopies over everything, and they had about 4 or 5 picnic tables set in a row, and then he had all of his tables in his food area. So he, on Friday, he had dinner. Saturday he had breakfast, lunch, and on Saturday night he cooked brisket, and with a salad, and a few people brought desserts and whatnot. And anyway, anytime you wanted something to eat, all you had to do was to wander over to where Sheldon was, and he manned it the whole time. I've never seen anything like it, and it was people just volunteered some money for it. I think the club supplied some funds, but they had money left over for next year. So anyway, it was just totally outrageous, just amazing. Anyway, and that really is nice when you've got a facility like that. It worked out really well. The other thing I wanted to say is I took a motorcycle trip one time. I used to have a Honda 750, the Ace, the All-American edition, the American Classic edition it was called. Beautiful, beautiful bike. And my friend KD70V, Jim, in Seattle and I, one Sunday, took off early in the morning. There was a Harley-Davidson rally at Ocean Shores, and he wanted to go over there. And my gosh, hang on here, I'm gonna try to reset. I don't know if I did or not, but anyway, we left Seattle in the morning, rode down 5, across Olympia over there to the coast and up to Ocean Shores. I rode around the Harley thing, and then came back. And I'm telling you, I was so tired. One cheek, I'd raise it off the seat, the other cheek, get a leg out here and there. I was really glad to get home. And I don't know how many miles that really came to. Well, I doubt it was 400. But I'm telling you, just what little vibration there is in a motorcycle, at least mine was nice. I mean, it rode really nice. But it's still hard on you. And I cannot imagine Mike making a ride like that. My God, what was he thinking of? Anyway, I'm glad he got home safe. My word. Anyway, and it was freeway driving most of the time, you know, when we were going, so you really have to be careful. So anyway, so that's my motorcycle story. I don't have a motorcycle today. I kept my leathers, got my boots, got my helmet and all that, gloves. No motorcycle. And that's probably the way it's going to be. So, okay, enough of that. Back to you, James. This is 7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Good.
KC, Lee up in Port Angeles, thank you very much. I, too, own a complete helmet and boots and I think a nice leather coat and everything, but no motorcycle at this time. Okay, next on the list, Jim, N7QO out in Covington. Go ahead, Jim.
N7QO. Thank you, Jim. Well, yeah, Ron, Mike rode for like 14 hours. I was wondering, maybe he got a Tesla motorcycle and put it on autopilot or something while he was taking a nap. Or, man, glad he made it home safely. Wow. Bob, fireworks. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. That looks pretty cool. Dick, adaptive motion trainer. My goodness, is this yet another improvement in productivity? Now they can wear you out in 2 minutes rather than taking 30 minutes to wear you out. That way they can process more patients faster. I don't know. It's crazy. Maybe they had the intensity turned up a little too much. Next time, I don't know, try panting. Maybe they will get the hint that that they're working you too hard. I don't know. Hang in there. You don't want them to hurt you. Lee, my goodness. Winner, barbecue dinner. Yeah, you know, I've looked around for decent brisket around here. Don't seem to find any. There was a Dick's Barbecue down the road from me, not too far, but they closed up and moved out maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I'm guessing. And then there was I think they called it a Longhorn Barbecue, but I'm not sure. I might have that name wrong. Anyway, they were in Auburn, and yeah, it was good food, but they did not have brisket. And we spoke to the owner of the place, and he said, "Yeah, no brisket. It's too much hassle for me," or something along that. I'll tell you what. Maybe next year for field day, I might be able to fly up there just for the brisket. I'll have to remember that. Huh. Okay. Food for thought as well as food for the tummy. Thanks for mentioning that, Lee. Back to you, Jim, and 7QO.
N7QO out there in Covington. This is James WW7ATS Net Control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Well, I tell you, Lee, I think you're onto something there. Nothing brings them in quite like food, especially that kind of food. Sounds really wonderful. I'm going to be volunteering, I think, on the 4th of July for a little bit. And I saw something on there that said, tell him by Tuesday what kind of sandwich I wanted. I didn't respond, so I don't know if I'm going to get my sandwich or not. I guess, I'll have to live off my protein bar if I don't get the sandwich. Anyway, yeah, pileated. Thank you for the correct pronunciation. A pileated woodpecker. And, you know, now that you've told us how to pronounce it, you have to tell us what pileated actually means, because I don't know. Anyway, so this is James, WW7N. We got 10 minutes left of the net, so let's call for visitors one more time. Anybody out there like to check in, check out, see if that antenna works? This is the place to do it. We'll give a solid signal report back to you, or if you want to join the conversation or learn more about TV, come now. Let's wrap it around to the top. Ron, KD7QKU, go ahead.
Again, this is Ron, KD7QKU. Well, this is for Jim, N7QO. I never watched the Mariners, Jim. So, I have MLB, Major League Baseball, and I paid for it on TV, and the Mariners are always blanked out. It doesn't matter who they play. So I do have Root, and I could watch them on Roots, but I don't watch them. I kind of got disgusted with them a couple years ago, and I just haven't watched them since then. When they got rid of all the players that I was familiar with, and they brought in all these young guys that were supposed to be the greatest, and this year they're almost the worst team in our division, so I do look at their stats every now and then. I don't think they're even above 500. So anyway, yeah, Mike, you know, I pointed out to him that when he was 40 years old, you know, those things were within his capabilities. But yeah, he said, I said, now that you're 60, and he said, I'm 62, Dad. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. And what else did I write in? Oh, so for about a week and a half or 2 weeks, I think I had a bad case of gout in my right foot. So my ankle, you know, bothers me, and then, oh my golly, my foot started paining me so bad. I mean, it was excruciating. At night, everything else, and you know, you can only take like, you know, 6, I think, Tylenol in 12 hours or something. So I couldn't take them too often. I needed them at night when I went to bed. So by taking one Tylenol when I went to bed and rubbed my foot and ankle and everything with aspirin cream about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, it was hurting so bad it would wake me up, and I'd have to take another Tylenol and rub it again. So you know, you can't get into the doctor immediately. So I go to the doctor on Friday, and I'm going to talk to her about it. But I really think I had gout. That's what other people thought too. I mean, I never had it before. Well, maybe a little bit, because I've had some of that pain before. So I don't know. But anyway, it was miserable, really miserable. I was getting almost desperate. I actually went over here to the urgent care. They have an emergency room, but I didn't feel like I should go to the emergency room. I went to urgent care. I thought maybe they could give me a little bitter pain pill or something, or do something. But they were so backed up with people, and I wore a mask. Joanne wore a mask when we went in there because they had so many people waiting at it. And I just gave up and came home. And thank God it's gotten a little better the last couple of days. So I guess someone said drink a lot of water. So man, did I drink a lot of water. So I don't know. But anyway, Jim was shaking his head. So I don't know. So I guess it's too much uric acid in it. It has little crystals in it. It gets in all your joints or something. Boy, I'm telling you, it was really uncomfortable. Back to net, KD7QKU.
WU7N. I was just saying, I haven't been to an urgent care in my life until last Saturday, and they had signs all over the wall saying they wouldn't fill any kind of pain medicine prescriptions whatsoever. So if you're hurting when you go to urgent care, better bring your own. Anyway, next on the list, Bob, K9PQ. Go ahead.
Switched in here. Yeah, the motorcycle, you know, I also rode motorcycles for years, and, you know, I still have a helmet here somewhere. I did have a leather jacket, but I didn't have a full leathers outfit. I was riding a Triumph, and so I was sort of going with the whole British thing. I used waxed cotton rather than leathers, and which was actually good. It was a good rain suit. It was certainly not as protective as leathers, but it worked. It worked fine for me. And yeah, I actually hung on to my motorcycle endorsement for many years, and I think just the last time I renewed my license, I finally decided to drop it. And because I just have never used it. I haven't ridden in years, but I thought, well, maybe I should have kept it in case I went on vacation somewhere and wanted to rent a scooter. I don't know how, I don't know if you need an endorsement for that. I have no idea. I imagine you probably don't, because they rent scooters all the time everywhere it seems like for just at some vacation spot they rent scooters. So I imagine you probably don't need an endorsement. Well, that's probably it for me. I can't think. Let's see. Jim. Man, that's crazy about that exercise thing. Just nuts that they turn it up that high. And thanks for telling us about the food, Lee. Yeah, I'll be out there next year for sure. And I guess that is all I have. So, I did want to say, yeah, Mike. It even sounds crazier. He's 2 years younger than me, and I can't imagine having done it anywhere in the last 20 years. I mean, that's what he did is nuts. So, okay, back to the K9PQ.
Richard, K7ITX, go ahead.
Well, I think the adaptive motion trainer, it was on low setting, lowest it goes. There's just something about it that, once you got going, it felt pretty good, but man, it just took I had the energy, but man, the stress that it put on my legs and knees, that's what was kind of freakish. And, but, it's all good. They're not going to hurt me. In fact, when my coach left for a little bit, I had the oximeter on my finger, and it's connected to an alarm and all that. Well, it started going, the alarm went off, because I went into my 80s, and in fact, the registered nurse came over to make sure I wasn't, killing myself, but then I immediately kicked in my high-intensity breathing and got myself out of it, and as I counted the seconds down to 2 minutes, because, she said, I'd done it for a minute, and then I'd take a break for a phone call, and then I started. She said, you'll just do it for 2 minutes. And I was thinking to myself, no, I'll go with the full 3 minutes. Boy, was I wrong. So I'll tell you guys how that goes. But I'm pretty excited getting my strength back and being able to, kind of walk half normally. It just blew my mind that walking not once at basically, I don't want to lie, but hardly at all, maybe once or twice at the tail end of a certain situation, but generally speaking, I didn't have to do any unusual breathing at Tacoma General. I mean, I covered probably a half a mile easily in the hallways. I mean, that's just how that place is. You get in the parking garage, and if you don't ask for directions, you think you're just going to go, okay, I know the room number, blah, blah, blah. Wrong. I'm glad I, and then when you ask for directions, then they put a little wristband on you, like, you've been cleared. I watch my blood oxygen saturation pretty carefully, and so I was just real curious, and I just couldn't believe it. I stayed around 93, 94%, literally the whole from the parking garage to Dust's room. I was just shocked, happily shocked. What can I say? So anyway, that's pretty much it for me, and I'll say 73, and I'll send it back to net control.
Testing. Well, thank you everyone for participating tonight. I see we're at the top of the hour. My name is James, WW7ATS. Let's give it one more call. Any visitors out there like to say hello? Visitors here tonight, Ron, Bob, Richard, Wade, Lee, and Jim. I certainly appreciate you guys participating tonight. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. We get on the 08 repeater on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, and also Saturdays on 8 p.m. Pacific Time. We welcome any and all visitors, either on the 08 machine or coming in via Echo Link on the 08 machine. So at this time, I'd like to thank the owners and operators of the WW7STR repeater for letting us use the 08 machine for our audio channel. And at that, I will say to all a good night. WU7N, returning the repeater to normal use.
ITL disconnected. N7KC disconnected.